Of the best reporters covering the Nashville Predators is, of course, Alex Daugherty of A to Z Sports Nashville. Now, yesterday I was in Winston-Salem, I will have you know this, and I actually had the opportunity to talk to Pete Weber and get to meet him, as a matter of fact. And he was actually very happy that I was going to be talking to you and talking Predators to East Tennessee. But it is Alex Daugherty, A to Z Sports Nashville, really, like I said, a top-flight hockey reporter. And the big news over the weekend, PK Subban, I think the most recognizable player in Smashville, traded to the rebuilding New Jersey Devils just 2 days after the first round of the hockey draft. Excuse me, just the day after the first round of the hockey draft. Let's see here. The deal. The New Jersey Devils media, New York Post says Devils got a steal. You have been tweeting out and writing that you don't necessarily think so. What's your opinion of the PK Subban deal?
Oh, well, I don't know about from the Devils side. I think definitely they got a good deal out of it. I mean, they considering what they needed. I mean, this gives them a bona fide top line defender and makes them instantly a better team for sure. I just think that the situation that the Predators are in, we knew something like this was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be PK Subban first. I thought Ryan Ellis would be the first to go, or Kyle Turris. But considering that David Poyle recently said that he had about 4 teams that were interested in Subban, but 3 of the 4 insisted that the Predators retain some salary cap, in some cases upwards of $3 million salary cap. So I think that considering that they were able to unload the entire contract, which includes just 4 more years at $9 million, is really not that bad of a deal. I think that some people are upset about the return that the Predators got. I think for one, they're overlooking Jeremy Davies, who's a pretty good defensive prospect. Steven Santini, I don't think will play all that much, to be honest. And then the 2 picks, I think I would have been happier if maybe one of the 2 picks had been a first rounder, but you got 2 second rounders out of it. That's not the worst thing in the world. And you shed $9 million of cap room, and now you can go get your guy Matt Duchene, who. I think that, honestly, it is basically all but over for him signing in Nashville. I think it's just a matter of days before, obviously he can't sign until July 1, but I think Matt Duchene is going to be a Nashville Predator this time, I don't know, I guess next week.
You've mentioned that in your tweets and your writing that Matt Duchene, you've been all over that story of the possibility of Duchene signing in Nashville. Now like I said, I talked to Pete Weber yesterday, and he was like, well, they had to free up some room to sign Roman Josi, the other guy on the blue line and all this. Do you think that Subban? It did seem to me, and it seemed to all of us, we knew this, that this last season he had was not his best. How much hockey do you think he has left in him, as now he's on the other side of 30?
It is strange that he had such a down year, considering he went from 59 points, which is the second best season by a defenseman in Predators history, to 31 last year, which is considerably worse. Almost half as many points. And really, his shooting percentage was not that bad, so it wasn't that he was just getting unlucky with the puck. He just wasn't generating the shots at the other end. He was making too many defensive mistakes, making too many mistakes in the neutral zone. I think it's a down year, no doubt about it, for him. But I don't think that he's going to repeat that. I think he will be a very good defenseman next year, probably in the conversation for the North again. The question is always with Subban, is he worth $9 million a year? And I think that most teams in the NHL would say no. And I think, case in point, not all the teams came knocking when they heard that Subban was available at $9 million. Only a few did. So I think he's not worth $9 million. I think he's probably worth more like 6 or 7. And Roman Josi, like you mentioned, is going to get a pay raise to probably around 8.5, maybe even close to $9 million. And I think he's definitely worth that. So you mentioned with Josi getting the pay raise, I think that. I wouldn't be surprised if David Poyle is not done. I think you might even see another player on the way out of Nashville in order to free even more cap space beyond next year.
You mentioned Davies. Fill us in on this prospect.
covered the Devils. He was a former Hobie Baker finalist,
Mm-hmm.
Basically the Heisman Trophy of the
Sure.
college hockey world.
Sure.
He played for Northeastern University, and he was a really highly touted defenseman. But then he came over shortly after leaving his Northeastern University time there, and was going to Binghamton. Would have played for the Devils at the AHL, but now it's with Nashville. So after the draft and this trade, the Predators' prospect pool instantly got a lot better. And if you want to talk about the draft, who the Predators drafted, we can certainly do that. But I mean, their prospect pool went from bottom 5 in the league to maybe one of the top 15. So
I did want to talk to you about Phyllis Tomasino, who is the first-round selection of the Predators, and I saw a lot of draft nicks were kind of targeting him. But I also saw some people thought that he could go, for instance, the Islanders with the 23rd pick. Turns out that he's there at number 24. How soon before Tomasino do you think arrives in Nashville?
yeah, I'm really glad that they drafted him. I think he's going to fit perfectly. I think he's the best. He was the best option. I had him as one of my top 2 picks for them for a long time. I think he's perfect for their situation. I'm not sure how long it'll take, but I think it'll probably be more like. I'd say probably within 2 years. He'll probably take at least a year in the AHL, and then beyond that we'll see. But he's only 18, and when you have an 18-year-old, you really don't know how long they can take. But bare minimum 2 years, maybe more like 3.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting him to step right in and score 100 points like Mario Lemieux and all this. I mean, the hockey draft you do, sometimes you'll get a Sidney Crosby or somebody like that right away, and all this. But it's few and far between and all and such. Now, I did want to ask, you mentioned Duchesne. Okay, let's talk about this. Obviously, you're going forward for a blue liner here. But everyone's talking about the PP with Nashville. That was the Achilles heel. That's what, if anything, held them back. I mean, they won the division, but it seemed like if anything held them back, that was it. How does Duchesne, if he does, help the power play if he signs with Nashville, in your opinion?
Well, he's going to help the power play. He's going to help the even strength. He's going to help every way that he possibly can. I think this guy he had 70 points last year combined with Ottawa and Columbus. The Predators desperately need more help down the middle in terms of their offense and their defense. He's a pretty good defensive player as well. If they get this guy on board, here's what happens. It puts everybody else in the lineup in a better position. So it puts, obviously, I think Ryan Johansson stays with Forsberg and Arvidsson, but you get Matt Duchesne in there with a player like Craig Smith, or even with a player like Ely Tolvanen if he comes up, or with Mikhail Granlund. And you've got a guy like Kyle Turris, who struggled last year, playing third-line minutes, but playing against less competition. And he gets a little bit more of a confidence back. It pushes everyone in the lineup down a slot to put them in a better, more comfortable position to succeed. So it checks so many boxes, I think, for this team. The only thing you worry about is how long is the term going to be. He's going to turn 29 this year. If you're dealing with a 7-8 year term, you really don't want that. I think the Predators would be happier with more like 5 years, but he's going to want to sign long term. So they might have to bite the bullet and just take it long term if that's what it takes to get him in Nashville.
Well, the only thing I'm looking at his stats. He only had 1 power play goal in Columbus in 23 games after he was traded from Ottawa. But yeah, his rookie year he had 10 and power play goals to Duchesne. I'm looking at his size. He's not quite 6 feet tall. He's not quite 200. I just don't see a guy who's going to set up in front of the net. But that's not his.
No.
Yeah, that's not his game.
Not really his game. And to be honest, I don't know what the power play is going to look like. They just recently made the new signing, Coach Lambert, to get in here and take over the power play. And I think that's going to make a big difference too. So combine those 2 changes. If they get a new center in here and then they get a new coach the power play, I think it's going to be much better than the 31st ranked power play that we saw last year.
You know who was all over that story about the coach coming from Spokane was Karsik Venkataraman. He's been on this show. He's a former Tri-Cities TV reporter. He's a Tri-Cities native, and he now is reporting in Spokane. So there you go, right there. And
I knew they were looking at Hiller from Toronto, and then I didn't know they were looking at Lambert, but I knew they were looking for a third coach because a lot of people were thinking, okay, well they've got to fire McCarthy, or they've got to fire Muse, or what are they going to do with the power play? But there was always this option of just hiring another coach to do it, and I think the cynic would say, well, what is Kevin McCarthy doing? He doesn't have the power play, he doesn't have the penalty kill. He's just friends with Peter Laviolette now. So not really sure what his job is, but at the very least, you don't turn over any apple carts, and you get a guy in there that knows what he's doing with the power play, and all is well.
Who's the star now of the Predators? I mean, I think Subban was certainly, he hosts a talk show, for crying out loud, the most visible player. Who do you think that is now?
Yeah, that's gonna be where I think you'll see the biggest difference with Subban, especially, or with the Predators, with Subban leaving, is nationally the marquee player. I think it just is relegated now back to Pecorine. I think it's going to be Pecorine and Roman Josi, and then whoever else. If they signed Matt Duchene, he would probably be up there as well. But it might be back to kind of Nashville in terms of the national market not really being relevant until they get to the playoffs. So that is a big hit.
Yeah, I didn't like that aspect because I did think that Nashville had a chance to be a glamour franchise. But look, Peke Rene, you know that I like him, and this guy's doing Tennessee lottery ads. Best goalie in the NHL. Or at least that's how they're putting him out to be. So locally there's somebody to follow around, and all that, and to identify with, if it can be someone who doesn't score goals, but rather stops them and such. I did want to ask you, were you at all surprised that Hughes was taken number one, Jack Hughes, by the Devils? There was some controversy on that. I think as it came out, that was the way they're going to go instead of the Finnish player. But what was your opinion?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Jack Hughes makes a lot of sense. Capo Caco is a really, really good player too. I think the Devils needed maybe a more true center. Capo Caco is definitely more of a wing, and he's going to fill up the back of the net. There's no question. But they needed a little bit more center depth behind someone like Taylor Hall. So I think it makes sense with what they're trying to do over in New Jersey.
Can the Devils, can they actually contend for a playoff berth, you think, next year after these moves?
Oh, no question. I think Subban makes their defense instantly better. They're just two years removed from it, and Taylor Hall is, if he's healthy, is one of the best centers in the league. They've got really good talent throughout. I think that, and in addition to having a good goaltender. So,
was there any? What did it feel like to see the Blues, the arch rival? And I know in East Tennessee it doesn't mean as much as in Middle and West, but how devastating was that for Predators fans?
For the Blues to win?
Yes.
Well, it depends on who you ask. There seemed to be an alarming amount of Predators fans that were cheering on the Blues, which I was kind of surprised about. But, I think that they're not going to see it until the Blues fans fill up Bridgestone Arena for a Blues Predators game and come in there with the same attitude that the Blackhawks come in there with every year, which is, we've won 5 cups or however many it is, and now with the Blues, we've won a cup. What have you done? And I think a lot of Predators fans will realize, oh, wait a minute, that was probably just not great for our franchise. That now our other main rival has now finally won a Stanley Cup. Now it's just the Predators, Winnipeg, and Minnesota that have not won a Stanley Cup in the Central Division.
Yeah, there's always been a feeling, I guess, in Columbia, South Carolina, that, well, if Clemson's so good, why can't South Carolina win a national championship in college football? That sort of thing. I know I'm keeping just a little bit out. This will be my last question. Jack Adams Award, Barry Trotz. Was it harder in your opinion, for Predators fans to accept a former coach, wins the Stanley Cup not maybe last season, but 2 seasons ago, this last season, now he's coach of the year with the Islanders, and they beat the Penguins in the first round of the playoffs. What do you think is tougher to take, a former coach doing great things or the arch rival winning?
Honestly, I think Barry Trotz is still a legend, a folk hero here in Nashville. I think no matter what Barry Trotz goes, no matter where he goes or what he wins, people are going to cheer him on here, especially because of how it ended. It's not like it was just a power struggle between him and David Boyle, and he lost. So I don't think fans have any ill will towards Barry Trotz, and I think they probably cheered him on just as much as anyone else would.
Intriguing. Yes, I mean, hey, I was trying to figure out how he lost his job in D.C. after winning the Stanley Cup myself. Anyway, it's Alex Daugherty. He's of A to Z Sports Nashville. Remember, we're going to talk Southern Conference bottom of the hour with SoCon John Hooper. We'll talk about NASCAR. Jerry Bonkowski couldn't make it today. He will be on Friday. But Alex Daugherty is more than a substitute. He's a star, letting us know about the Predators in the offseason. Who else is going to tell you about that in this market? Find the great menu and deals at goasianhouse.com. Use Tom for catering. You'll be most satisfied too. Asian House, nestled in the Shops on West Market on the way to Jonesboro. Mention 1420 WEMB Sports Radio and get 10% off.
This is the sound of the DQ Cheeseburger Lovers deal being calculated by a cheeseburger lover.